everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiffany Benson, one part of Team Benson, and today we're going to do a garden tour because my garden is finally starting to look like a garden again, and it's finally starting to look pretty so that then we can have breakfast and lunch and stuff like that out here. So we did a big garden cleanup, guys. So as you can see, everything's planted, but what more importantly is our table does not have anything on it so that then we can eat out here. So right now is my favorite time of year because it is technically our fall. I know it may not feel that way because this year it is going to be actually 106 degrees during the afternoon, but in the mornings it's like 80 and 90 degrees and it's beautiful. But this is the time I start planning for where I'm planting everything, because my garden will be full in this way for probably about until February when I start planting in the spring garden. So I want to make sure everything's perfect. I want to see, okay, where I want to put things, where I'm going to put extra pots, where I'm going to put flowers, because I want to make sure that the bees have something to eat. They're starting to come back here and investigate a little bit with some of the flowers that are back here. So now it's time for me to make sure that I have enough flowers planted and hopefully try and get my medicinal garden planted too as well. But I want to say big thank you to Mimi. She is one of my Instagram friends and she also is a subscriber of our channel. I'll put her information here so you guys can find her on Instagram. But she sent me some orange poppy seeds, which I'm going to sprinkle in a lot of the hanging pots up there so that then that can bring in just a lot of bee activity. So as you guys know, I have had some rodent issues. We have roof rats is what we finally figured out what it is. These things are huge. They're the size of like a mini Great Dane and they like to dig up stuff and they like to just kind of run all over the place. So I have put up a lot of chicken wire because that has been the one thing that has saved my garden. So you guys will notice a lot of chicken wire in my garden. I'm also still currently using the shade cloth because we still have about another, they're saying 3 weeks of really high temperatures, like over 100 degrees and down to like 99. So I'm still using some shade cloth up in the afternoon part of the day and on some of the brassicas that are just a little bit more, they don't like the hot heat, so I don't want them to bolt, so I have them covered. But part of my garden, which all of this space behind me, is just left open because the sun isn't hitting it with direct light when it's the hottest part of the day, like the 106, so then that way it's not getting burned up. But let's take a tour. We'll start from the top and come all the way around. So here's my kitchen herb bed. So I have all of the kitchen herbs in here. We have the parsley in the back. We have a purple sage that's starting to look green. And then we have a variegated sage. And then we also have a regular kitchen garden sage, which has a lot bigger leaves. That's how you can tell it apart from the purple sage when the purple sage isn't purple anymore, because I thought that was going to be really purple, which it kind of was, and then now it's starting to turn green. And then we have rosemary right here, and then we have some German thyme right here and right here, and then we also have some lemon thyme over here. We have some chives over here, and then we have marjoram and then some oregano. Now this is where I went full assault on the chicken wire because I was putting in all of my new brassicas, which they were doing well despite the fact that it's really, really hot. And then the roof rat ate every last one of my lettuce plants. And I was like, okay, I'm done. So I'm just gonna cover it in chicken wire. So I'll show you guys. So it literally looks like my little bed of brassicas is in prison because it's just covered by chicken wire. But inside of here, we'll go inside, I have some cabbage on these two. And then over here, I have the kale plants, which the roof rat ate one of them, so I only have 5 left. I have a tomato plant. This one is a cherry tomato plant that's gonna be growing up my mighty crop, which if you guys don't have your mighty crops already, make sure you use our code because you'll get 10% off of your mighty crop. I'll put the code down below. And then I have this beautiful basil plant that I'm pretty excited about. And I have a purple kale plant that looks really pretty. And then I have some more cabbage This is where all the lettuce is, so I'm going that, well, it's gone now, so I'm going to plant something else right here in this area. And then look guys, that artichoke is popping back up, and then I have a random radish right there. So yes, right now all of my brassicas and that tomato and basil plant are all in gel because I don't want them to get eaten. So it's been working. All I do is I put the shade cloth down and just clip the bottom part of it to the top of the chicken wire, and I haven't had a single problem since I started doing that. So if anything else starts getting eaten, then that's where I'm going to do, is just continue putting chicken wire everywhere. So in this little area, I still have to plant something in these, but we're getting these pots ready. Also, you guys can see we'll have pots of dirt kind of everywhere, and that's because we're getting those pots ready to plant things in it over the next 2 weeks. But I have my jalapeno pepper plants. They're doing better and recovering from being dug up and eaten. And then I have a different type of parsley. This one is the Italian parsley. I go back and forth between Italian and curly parsley. And then I have some tomatoes over there. Those ones are the super sweets. And then over here, this is my new shishito pepper plant. Now, I have the one shishito that I've been growing, and then its friend died, so I need at least 2 shishito plants to give us another shishito, enough shishitos for a mill. So I found this one on sale that was already full grown. The nice part too is that it had a couple of dried shishitos, so I'm going to take the seeds out of there, because that was the problem, is that I did not have seeds for shishitos. And then this is one of my ichabod eggplants. Now this one's kind of cool guys, because I've been growing this one inside from a seed that I got from that one. So this one is finally big enough, and I think it's the spider mites are kind of dwindled down a little bit. So I'm putting it out here, so fingers crossed that it's doing well. Now over here, I cut back all the leaves on this one and the branches that were dead, and now I'm starting to get a bunch of little baby leaves everywhere. So this one got really attacked by spider mites, so I'm cut them all back, and now it's starting to grow back. So that is the Ichabod eggplant. And then I have radishes that are just kind of growing everywhere throughout my garden too as well. So this year was insanely hot, and it was hot like over 100 degrees for longer periods of time than what it normally is. Normally it is super hot here in Arizona, but then there's breaks. It's not so many 110 or 118 days in a row. So with all of that heat brought in a lot of pests and a lot of spider mites. So it was a battle with the spider mites, and anything that was not fully grown or fully healthy, just kind of keeping it healthy, was an insane battle. So over here I have one of my Malabar spinach plants. This one is the smaller one of the two. It hasn't started climbing yet. And then back here I have one of my bells, and then I have my big beef tomatoes right there. Little lizard is climbing up there. And then I have one okra here and one okra here. This one's outgrowing that one, but I'm happy they're growing. And then my squash plant is starting to look a little bit bigger and healthier, so it has survived. Its friend did not, but it survived, so I'm happy about that. And then we have another bell over there as well. And then also climbing up here, we have some tasty green cucumbers. Now it's a little bit warmer out today than it was over the past like 3 days, so I am probably going to put a shade cloth up on this side, just so that it's not too hot on some of those, because I don't want them to get stressed out and start getting unhealthy, because they're doing well. They finally have beat the worst of it, so I want to just continue them on strong so that we can go into October with no problem. Now here is one of my Malabar spinaches that is starting to climb. This one's so pretty guys, and I can't wait until they climb all the way up to the very top. And then I want them to grow along the beams there too as well. But I also just planted a early girl tomato. I want to try and have a lot more tomatoes this year, so I kind of put tomatoes in between everything. So I put one there, and then I put another cherry tomato here along with basil. Now I love planting basil and tomatoes together because I think that they work well together. Now this bed is still pretty bare because I'm going to plant all of my broccoli in here too as well. I have that growing inside, and I'm just waiting for it to be a little less hot because this bed gets a lot more direct sun than the other brassicas bed. So that's the other thing that you want to really consider, is where the sun is in your garden and how hot is it in those places. So where I have little microclimates, I'm going ahead and putting out some of my fall crops that I know it's too hot for, but since it's in a microclimate, it's going to be cooler during the hottest parts of the day. This bed is not one of them, unfortunately. It gets direct heat right when it's 106. So I actually put a little shade cloth over the tomato and the basil plant, but I really don't want to put the broccoli out there because I think that it would stress it out too much, and it probably would end up getting attacked by some type of pest because it would be like done. That's how hot it gets. But at least I can have them growing inside. They're looking good. I'm giving them a little bit of afternoon or morning like time outside to kind of hearten off. So I'm thinking in like another 2 or 3 weeks I'll be able to put those out. So my lemongrass is actually doing really well. For those of you guys that are looking for something that can take direct heat, this lemongrass is, because it gets the full 106 degrees out, and there's no shade cloth on this, along with these flowers too as well. I'm not sure what type that they are, but they're really pretty, but they've been in the full sun and they're doing well. I have to replant out all of my medicinal herbs because those got dug up, but I have a basil plant over here, or no, this one is a dill plant that I'm thinking, as I'm looking at it, it's starting to get some sun skulls, so I'm gonna have to give this one some shade. And then this one got attacked by spider mites. It's starting to do a little bit better, but I've been covering it up a little bit. Now what also has been doing really well, and I haven't been covering it, I probably will today since it's really hot outside, it'll be 106 today, but is my midget cantaloupe. This one has done really well, and it's completely almost to the top of my patio arch. So I'm loving that one. The beans though did not survive. And then finally over here I have my mints. This one is the spearmint, and then this one is the lemon balm. Now they are getting a little bit of sun skull, guys, so I do cover these ones up, and they're probably not gonna like today, so I'll probably actually move them completely over to the other side so that they don't get too hot. Now my beans, I started all over again inside because this heat did not let up. So normally when I plant my beans outside and they do perfectly well, they survive the heat and then they do perfectly well because it's a lot cooler by now. Normally the highs would be around like 95 degrees, but it's been pushing 105, 103, 106, and that was way too hot for them. So the last thing I want to show you guys before we get done is my tree, because my tree has gotten a lot of new flowers on it, which turned into a lot of new little limes. So if you guys look closely, all of these little flowers turned into little limes. Yay! So they were everywhere. I thought that the flowers died because they looked so drawn up, but then I noticed that there were little limes everywhere. But the tree is doing really well, and it has tons of limes already on it. Like if you guys look over here, it's got a bunch of ones over there and then some up in there too as well. That's another one in there. So after a miserable summer, we now have tons of hope for the fall, and that it's going to equal a lot of harvest and greatness, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. So I'm going to put the garden back underneath its shade cloth, and I'm going to head inside where it's not 100 degrees. Until next time, grow yourselves a garden, because even a small space can provide you with tons of food. Bye guys.